There can be little doubt about the importance of telecommunications in today's organizations. It really defines the scope of business, the way we interact with each other. And it would be useful probably to get an idea of the way telecommunications works and some of the interactions that are caused by the implementation of these systems. We take a look at this telecommunications diagram dated August 30th, 1989. So this is a 20-year-old network for a large oil company here in Houston. Each one of the ovals represents one or more local area networks. So if we're sitting in one of the buildings in the lower right-hand corner, and we call up our IT support desk and say, is the network down? The IT department is going to want to know, exactly which network are you talking about. We're going to fast forward to a network diagram in more recent times. This is about 3 years old. We fast forward to a telecommunications network about 3 years old, and now each one of the boxes that's represented here is not a local area network, but it represents an entire campus or a building. Our networks have gotten so big that they can't all fit on a single piece of paper, and that is an indication of how they've grown. So we start looking at the way telecommunications works. We tend to divide up its impact on kind of a 2-by-2 matrix, having to do with time and place. So if we're looking at face-to-face communication, that's our traditional. Everybody have a meeting and meet face-to-face. They're at the same time in the same place. If we look at different places at the same time, that would be video teleconferencing, a telephone call, something where both or all of the parties are online at the same time, but just in different places. Email is an example of asynchronous distributed communication, where we're communicating at different places and at different times. The last area is different times but in same place. This is the next frontier, and this has to do with location-based computing, and is all wrapped up in I'm going to be able to contact you about some matter when you get to a certain place. And location-based services are really about to take off. But we can add a z-axis, if you will, looking at individuals, small groups that have a particular task, affinity groups who coalesce around a particular topic or interest, functional groups, which tend to be within our organizations in terms of organizational function. There's the organization itself communicating to itself, communications between organizations, and finally what we call unorganized communication. This is communication between people who don't know one another and actually don't have anything in common, but are communicating nonetheless. As we start looking at how communication works, it's important to understand that the way we communicate is limited by the physical nature of the communication system. The slide that you're looking at now says bits have length. If we take a look at the very top row, we see the speed of light. It's 186,000 miles per second. Going down the third column, if I focus on the number 10 million, and we say 10 million bits per second, what that translates into as I communicate through a telecommunications network using either light or electrons, the size of each one of those bits, which is traveling, we'll say at the speed of light, is 98.21 feet long. That means in a local area network that's running around in your building, or the local area network that you're using right now the ones and zeros. If it's a 10 million bit per second network, each of the ones and zeros in the communication path is 98 feet long. Now it's traveling at the speed of light, but it's still really, really long. And this is where the concept of bandwidth comes from. Now notice as we go from a low number of bits per second to a large number of bits per second, what happens to our bit? The bits get smaller. That's an important thing to keep in mind, that bits have length, but we aren't changing the speed that we're transmitting. We're changing the length of the bit. And that's how communications works. Now when I hook my computer up to another computer using the internet, if I'm using an old internet addressing scheme called IPv4, I'm using a 32-bit number to address my computer. 2 to the 32nd is about 4.2 billion. This is the maximum number of addresses using the old internet addressing scheme. But that's not enough, is it? We need a lot more addresses. So a new addressing scheme was created called IPv6. That uses 128-bit addressing. How big is 102 to 128? Well, if I use my calculator, it overflows. So we're going to do it a little bit differently. And I used a big computer to come up with, this is what the number of addresses using the new internet addressing scheme. Now that's a big old long number. So I thought I would put it in terms we could talk about. And you'll see kind of on the diagonal there, there's hecto, kilo, mega, giga, tera, peta. And those may be terms like gigabyte and megabyte that we're used to. But then as the number gets longer, we start talking about things we're not used to. Exa, hepa, ada, nia, dia, una, and non. The non is kind of a Latin for there is none. The number is so large that there really isn't a way to describe it. Now, if we assume that there's say 10 billion or 100 billion or 999 billion people on the face of the earth, what you see circled there is the number of internet addresses each person on earth would have using IPv6. So that means that your house, your car, your air conditioning system, your refrigerator, your left tennis shoe and your right tennis shoe, each one of these could have its own internet address. This has substantial implications for the way the world is going to work, the way our companies are going to work, and the way we're going to do business. As we move from IPv4 to IPv6, we have the potential to connect everyone in the world to everyone else, and that's just going to be good business.